What if I told you that the way you walk into a room, the energy you carry, and the habits you repeat every day can be more powerful than your appearance when it comes to attracting men? Because here's the truth. Physical beauty may catch the eye, but it's your habits, mindset, and subtle cues that truly capture the heart. And men, especially high-value ones, are far more intuitive than most people think. They're not just watching how you look, they're feeling how you make them feel. You've probably seen it before, a woman who doesn't necessarily fit conventional beauty standards, yet she has men completely captivated. Why? Because she embodies something deeper, an energy, a rhythm, a confidence that makes her unforgettable. That's not luck, that's intention. It's rooted in habits most women overlook, and most men crave. In this video, we're peeling back the layers to expose the 4 powerful habits that make women irresistibly attractive, not temporarily, but consistently. These are not gimmicks or surface-level tricks. These are mindset-driven behaviors, grounded in psychology and real-life attraction dynamics. So if you've ever wondered, why do some women effortlessly draw the right men while others struggle, you're in the right place. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about unlocking what's already inside you and learning how to let it shine through in everyday life. Stick around, because the last habit we share is the one most women never talk about. But it could completely change the way you approach love, confidence, and connection moving forward. Let's dive in and discover the traits men can't help but be drawn to, even if they don't fully understand why. There's a reason confidence tops almost every list of what men find attractive. But not just any confidence. It's not the loud, flashy kind. It's not walking into a room trying to dominate every conversation or acting like you're better than everyone else. That's arrogance, and it repels far more than it attracts. What truly draws men in, especially the ones who are emotionally intelligent and relationship ready, is magnetic confidence, the kind that speaks before you even open your mouth. This type of confidence is quiet, calm, and powerful. It comes from a deep sense of self-worth that doesn't rely on external approval. It's the energy of a woman who knows who she is and doesn't need to perform for attention. She's not trying to prove anything. She's not playing games. And that alone sets her apart from the crowd. Men are drawn to women who own their presence. When you walk into a room, do you take up space with ease? Do you hold your head high without needing validation from anyone around you? That's what they notice. Not just your outfit or your smile, but the way you carry yourself, the way you treat yourself. Confidence is in the small moments, how you maintain eye contact without fidgeting, how you speak clearly without rushing to fill silence, how you don't over-explain your opinions or apologize for taking up space. The key is balance. Confidence becomes magnetic when it's paired with humility and emotional intelligence. When a man sees that you know your worth, but you're still grounded, still kind, still open, that's rare, that's unforgettable. It's not about being perfect or never feeling doubt. It's about not letting those doubts control how you show up. The reason this kind of confidence is so attractive is because it signals emotional safety. A woman who trusts herself is less reactive. She doesn't need to be constantly reassured. She can have a disagreement without turning it into drama. She communicates her needs clearly and without guilt. That's the kind of energy that makes a man lean in, not because he feels responsible for her happiness, but because being around her feels good. It feels light. It feels secure. And here's what most women don't realize. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you practice. It's in the decisions you make every day. Do you follow through on your word? Do you set boundaries and honor them? Do you speak up when something doesn't feel right, even if it's uncomfortable? Every time you do, you reinforce to yourself that you're someone worth trusting. And that self-trust is what becomes magnetic. The most attractive women aren't the loudest or the most polished. They're the ones who lead with self-respect, who don't chase, who don't beg to be chosen, because they've already chosen themselves. And when a man sees that, he doesn't just admire her, he wants to rise to meet her. Attraction isn't always built through words, it often happens in the quiet space between them. While most people focus on what to say to impress someone, truly magnetic women understand the art of subtle communication. They know how to speak volumes without saying much at all. And that kind of communication is powerful because it's intuitive, layered, and emotionally resonant. When mastered, it creates a level of connection that feels natural, mysterious, and deeply compelling to men. Subtle communication is about energy, body language, timing, and tone. It's the way your eyes linger just a second longer, the way you lean in when you're genuinely interested, or the way you pause and give space in conversation instead of rushing to respond. These cues tell a man far more than your words ever could. They signal that you're present, confident, and emotionally aware. Qualities that build attraction on a subconscious level. Men are especially sensitive to how they feel in your presence. They may not always articulate it, but they're constantly picking up on the emotional undertone of your behavior. If your words say one thing but your energy says another, they'll feel the disconnect, and that's when attraction falters. But when everything aligns, your words, your energy, your presence, it creates a magnetic effect that draws them in effortlessly. For example, the way you listen matters. Truly magnetic women don't just hear, they listen. They make others feel seen and understood. Not by nodding along robotically, but by being genuinely tuned in. They make eye contact without staring. They ask thoughtful follow-ups without interrogating. And they respond in a way that shows they're engaged, but not trying too hard. This balance creates a dynamic where the man feels both comfortable and intrigued. Like he wants to know more, like he wants to impress you. Another powerful form of subtle communication is knowing when not to speak. Silence, when used intentionally, is Most people are uncomfortable with pauses, so they rush to fill them. But a woman who's comfortable with stillness signals emotional maturity. She doesn't overshare, she doesn't explain herself unnecessarily, and she doesn't speak just to keep attention. She knows that her value isn't in constant output, it's in her presence. Tone of voice also plays a massive role. A soft, calm, and controlled tone is often far more captivating than a loud or overly excited one. It doesn't mean being passive or shrinking yourself. It means knowing how to modulate your energy in a way that draws people in rather than overwhelms them. Your voice should reflect emotional clarity and intention, not the need to dominate the space. Even your micro-expressions, smiles, glances, raised brows can shift an entire interaction. A slight smirk when you find something amusing, a warm look when you agree, or even a playful eyebrow raise. These are subtle signals that invite curiosity and emotional connection. They add layers to your presence without you ever having to explain yourself. And perhaps the most important part of mastering subtle communication is this. Don't try too hard. The moment it becomes performative or calculated, men sense it. The key is authenticity. These subtle cues only work when they come from a grounded, genuine place. You don't need to mimic someone else or follow a script. You simply need to become aware of the impact your energy has, and how your presence can speak louder than any rehearsed line. Subtle communication is a powerful feminine trait. It creates emotional depth without demanding it. It allows space for the man to lean in, to wonder, to engage. Not because you chased him, but because you allowed him to feel something without pushing it. And that feeling is what makes him come back again and again. Not just curious about what you'll say next, but about who you really are beneath the surface. One of the most underrated but deeply attractive qualities in a woman is emotional self-control. Not emotional suppression, not pretending you don't feel anything, but the ability to feel deeply while still choosing how to respond with intention and grace. This kind of self-mastery is rare, and it's one of the strongest signals of high self-worth. It's also something that immediately captures a man's attention and respect. Attraction isn't just about looks or chemistry. It's about how a person makes you feel over time. Emotional self-control is what makes a woman feel safe to be around. Not in a boring way, but in a grounding way. She's the kind of woman who can hold her own energy. She doesn't fly off the handle at every trigger. She doesn't need a man to regulate her emotion. And because of that, men find themselves drawn to her more and more, because she doesn't drain them emotionally. She inspires them. When a woman lacks emotional self-control, it often shows up as overreactions, drama, passive-aggressive behavior, or constant emotional neediness. These patterns can be overwhelming for a man who is looking for something real. But when a woman can feel frustration, disappointment, or even insecurity, and still choose a calm, respectful response, that's powerful. It tells a man, this woman knows who she is. She doesn't crumble under pressure. She communicates like an adult, not a storm. What makes this so magnetic is that it creates trust. A man doesn't have to guess how you'll react. He doesn't walk on eggshells. He knows that even when things get emotional, you're not going to lose yourself in it. That steadiness makes a man want to open up, want to invest, want to stay. Because while excitement and beauty may catch his eye, emotional stability is what makes him feel like he's found a woman he can build with. Now, emotional self-control doesn't mean being emotionally cold or distant. In fact, the opposite is true. It's about being fully in touch with your emotions, aware of them, honoring them, but choosing not to let them control you. You might feel angry, but instead of lashing out, you breathe through it and express it calmly. You might feel anxious, but instead of seeking constant reassurance, you take a moment to ground yourself. That kind of response is powerful. It sets you apart. Men are highly responsive to emotional touch. If you're always reacting out of fear, insecurity, or attachment, they may initially try to help, but over time, it becomes draining. But when you show that you can self-regulate, even in tough moments, it signals maturity, independence, and strength. It shows you've done the inner work, and that's incredibly attractive. And here's the truth. Emotional self-control isn't about being emotionless. It's about giving yourself space between feeling and reacting. It's about taking ownership of your triggers instead of making others responsible for them. It's choosing your words carefully. It's walking away when needed, instead of escalating a moment that doesn't deserve your energy. This level of control doesn't make you less feminine. It makes you magnetic. It allows your softness to shine without the chaos. It allows your vulnerability to be powerful instead of reactive. And men don't just notice it, they feel it. They may not be able to name it, but they'll describe it as she's different or there's just something about her. And that something is your emotional sovereignty. When you have that inner calm, you naturally invite the right men in and repel the ones who thrive on drama or control. Because you're not here to be managed or fixed. You're already whole, and nothing is more attractive than a woman who knows she doesn't need to be saved, because she's already holding herself with grace, strength, and intention. There's a certain presence some women carry that stops people in their tracks. It's not loud, it's not forceful, it doesn't demand attention, yet it draws it effortlessly. That's the quiet power of feminine energy in action. And while it's often misunderstood or reduced to appearance or flirtation, true feminine energy runs much deeper. It's about how you move through the world, not just how you look while doing it. Feminine energy is magnetic because it creates emotional contrast. In a world that often celebrates hustle, control, and intensity, feminine energy brings softness, receptivity, and flow. It's the woman who walks into a room and doesn't chase, but allows. She doesn't beg to be noticed. She doesn't force connection. She simply is, grounded, radiant, open, and people gravitate toward her without fully knowing why. This energy isn't weakness. It's not passivity. In fact, it takes immense strength to embody it fully. It's knowing you don't need to control everything around you to feel safe. It's the ability to stay open in a world that often encourages women to harden. It's choosing presence over performance, connection over competition, intuition over pressure. And when you do that, something incredible happens. The right men step up to meet you, not because you manipulated them into it, but because you created space for them to rise into their own masculine energy. Men are naturally drawn to what they can't easily define. Feminine energy isn't logical. It's in the way you laugh with your whole body, the way you pause before responding, the way you take joy in the moment without rushing to the next thing. It's how you express your emotions without blaming others for them. It's sensual, expressive, nurturing, intuitive, and most importantly, it's authentic. A woman rooted in her feminine energy doesn't need to dominate a room to be powerful. Her energy is felt in her stillness, her grace, and her emotional depth. She embraces her softness, not as a weakness, but as her greatest strength. She's not afraid of being vulnerable, because she's strong enough to hold herself through it. And this kind of energy disarms people. It invites trust, intimacy, and admiration. To embody feminine energy is to give yourself permission to feel, to receive, to slow down. It's allowing yourself to be guided by joy, creativity, and connection. Not just productivity. It's shifting from I must do to be worthy, to I am worthy just as I am. That shift changes everything. Not just how you feel inside, but how the world responds to you, including men. When you bring this energy into your relationships, men feel it instantly. It invites them to lead, to provide, to protect, not because you need them to, but because your energy makes space for that polarity to exist. You stop competing, comparing, and controlling, and instead you start co-creating. And that's when magic happens, when a man can step into his masculine, because he feels your feminine is both safe and powerful. Feminine energy isn't something you fake, it's something you remember. It's already in you, but it requires you to drop the armor, to trust yourself deeply, to let go of the belief that you have to earn love by doing more. You don't. You attract what you are, not what you choose. So when you embody your feminine essence, when you live in your body, speak from your heart, and move with intention, you don't just become attractive, you become unforgettable. There's one truth about attraction that most women overlook, not because they don't care, but because no one ever teaches this. It's not in most dating advice columns, it's not talked about on girls' night out, And it definitely isn't something you'll find in a list of quick tips to get a man. But this one insight can quietly transform the way men respond to you without you changing how you look, how you dress, or how you flirt. And it's this. Men are most drawn to women who feel good in their own lives, with or without them. That might sound simple, but think about it. How many women approach dating, relationships, or attraction from a place of lack? They're waiting to be chosen, waiting for someone to make life exciting, meaningful, or stable. They place love on a pedestal, as if finally being with the right man will solve everything. And in doing that without realizing it, they make themselves less attractive. Because needing someone to complete you is very different from inviting someone to complement a life you already love. The secret is to become the woman who isn't waiting. She's not waiting for a text to be in a good mood. She's not waiting for a date to dress well or feel confident. She's not putting her dreams on pause because love hasn't shown up yet. She's living fully, richly, intentionally. And that is irresistible. That kind of energy doesn't just attract, it captivates. Because men don't want to feel like they're your rescue plan. They want to feel like they're joining something powerful. The truth is, high-quality men are drawn to women who have something bigger going on, whether it's a passion, a purpose, a joyful lifestyle, or simply a deep connection to themselves. Not because they're intimidated by your independence, but because it shows emotional wholeness. You're not asking him to fix your emptiness. You're inviting him to experience your fullness. And that's the piece most women miss. They think love will finally allow them to exhale. But the irony is, when you learn to exhale before love shows up, when you're at peace with your life, your timeline, your story, that's when love finds you. Because your energy changes. You stop chasing, you stop clinging, you stop needing to be chosen. Instead, you choose yourself, and that choice changes everything. This doesn't mean you don't want love. Wanting connection is human. But there's a massive difference between desiring love from a place of overflow versus craving it from a place of emptiness. One makes you magnetic, the other makes you dependent. And men feel that distinction immediately, even if they can't explain it. The secret most women overlook is that your wholeness is your power. When you embody that, you stop seeing men as saviors and start seeing them as mirrors. You attract partners who match your energy, not fill your gaps. And those are the relationships that actually last, because they're built on mutual choice, not emotional survival. So ask yourself this: would you want to date you right now? Would your energy feel like a breath of fresh air, or would it feel like pressure? When you live a life that feels good from the inside out, you naturally give off the kind of energy that draws people in without effort. You don't have to prove, perform, or pretend. You just be, and the right man will not only notice, he'll pursue, connect, and commit. Not because you made him, but because you didn't need to. That's the secret. Wholeness is the most attractive thing in the world. And when you stop chasing love and start becoming love, you stop settling for attention and start attracting devotion. Everything we've explored in this video comes down to one powerful truth. You are the foundation of the love you want to attract. The way you think, feel, and show up for yourself directly shapes the energy you put into the world and the kind of man who responds to it. These habits aren't about changing who you are to be more likable. They're about uncovering the most magnetic, authentic version of you, the one that's already there beneath the fear, conditioning, and doubt. It's easy to get caught up in surface-level dating advice. Say this, wear that, text back like this. But attraction, real lasting attraction, goes far deeper than appearance or technique. It's about emotional resonance. It's about who you are being, not just what you are doing. When a man meets a woman who radiates self-assurance, emotional stability, subtle communication, and embodied feminine energy, it's unforgettable. Not because she's perfect, but because she's present. She's whole. She's grounded in her truth. That's what makes her rare. And that's what creates not just chemistry, but connection. So if you're wondering where to go from here, start with small, intentional shifts. Ask yourself which of these habits you've already started to build, and which ones you're ready to embrace. Do you trust yourself in emotionally charged moments? Are you showing up in your feminine essence or overcompensating with control? Are you letting joy lead your life even before love arrives? Growth is not about fixing yourself. You're not broke. It's about realigning with your worth, your intuition, your softness, and your strength. It's about choosing to stop chasing validation and start embodying the love you want. You don't need to convince anyone to choose you when you've already chosen yourself. And that inner commitment, that decision to honor yourself first, is what shifts everything externally. The women who attract and sustain deep, meaningful relationships aren't just lucky. They've done the inner work. They've built emotional tools, self-awareness, and resilience. They've learned how to communicate without ego, how to stay soft without collapsing, and how to walk away from anything that doesn't align with their peace. That kind of power doesn't come from desperation. It comes from devotion to growth, to alignment, this is your invitation to lean into that next level of yourself. You don't need to rush, you don't need to do it all overnight, but you do need to stop. Because the version of you who effortlessly attracts love isn't out there in the future. She's already within you, waiting to be remembered, trusted, and expressed. So stay curious, keep expanding, keep choosing yourself, because when you do, the right people will feel it. They'll see you, and more importantly, they'll meet you at the level you've risen to. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your next chapter in love doesn't start when someone enters your life. It starts the moment you decide you're already enough, right here, right now.